Welcome to Technology and Education. Today I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford. And today we're talking about flip teaching.
Flip teaching. And
And what might that be?
what might flip teaching be, and what grade level are we talking about?
Well, I'm very annoyed by the fact that people are using a new label for what's been done for years and years and years. Flip teaching. All it is means that someone did their homework before they showed up to class so that the faculty member can focus upon higher order thinking skills and engaging the students with the information in new and different ways to think about it in different ways.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. It's called flip teaching now. It's like, it's not a new invention, people, but okay.
Yeah, but there are only so many new inventions in education under the sun, and I think you and I were looking at a study which indicated that maybe 50% of university teachers are now using what they say is flipped teaching.
What they refer to as flip teaching.
And really, what the explanation is that they take what normally would have been in the
mind-numbing lecture,
the classroom, which would be a lecture in general, and they put that lecture on video. And then the students see the lecture at home or at Starbucks or wherever they want to watch the lecture.
working out the gym.
Yeah, and then they come to class already having heard the lecture, and instead of undergoing a lecture in class,
The knowledge-based focus.
yeah, what happens is that the professor is then able to hold discussions with the student or do other activities, and therein you get the flipped aspect. But as you noted,
Uh-oh, now I'm in trouble.
that I think really the only difference here is that instead of the information being on paper for the preparation for the class, it is now on video, and somehow that makes that very appealing and gives the profession the ability to say that they have flipped the classroom. But really, when I was in high school and when I was in college or university,
You read the textbook before you came in, so now the knowledge-based lecture where you're framing the information is also done at home. Congratulations, you have more out-of-class work to do. And when you come into class, you're working on something. You're working on group work or...
well, at the college level and graduate school level, we were doing discussions. Basically, professor led us in discussions, and that was how the classroom proceeded. I think that there's a lot of stereotyping going on.
Well, you had a much different experience than I did, at least at the undergraduate level, and partially, well, a lot, to a great extent, master's level too. It was all lecture. The whole focus was upon the faculty member. There was very little discussion occurring.
No, we had discussions, and we were expected to have read the textbook. And I can remember instances where students...
Someone didn't?
Well,
Called out, boy!
It wasn't a someone. It was a considerable number of people in the class did not read the material beforehand, or as we would say these days, have watched the video beforehand, watched the flipped part, and hence were unprepared to participate in the classroom discussion for that day, and the professor would call these people out on it.
I'm not sure that's necessarily a bad thing.
No, I think it's a good thing, because each student at the college level is supposed to be responsible enough to do the preparation for each class that takes place. That's why for years you always have a syllabus, and on that syllabus it lists the readings that you were supposed to do. Now these
prior
days...
to the class session.
Right, prior
But
to
to
the
be
class
fair,
session, yes.
I'm one of those people that always read the material, but I didn't remember it when I walked in the class because it had been a day or two or a couple hours, and I had forgotten what the whole discussion was about. I needed someone to help frame it for me before the discussion began.
And these days we have special classes for people like you, give you assistance. But the idea is not only that you have read
that was mean.
I know. Not only that you read the material, but you learn the material. You learn the material before you go into class. And it's the same thing for watching the videos in the flipped classroom. It's not that you point your head towards the monitor on your computer and just sort of watch the talking head take place. No, you have to pay attention, and you will have to take notes. Now, whether or not students do that is another story. Interestingly enough,
But at least it's there to view over and over, however many times a student may desire to do so.
yes, interestingly enough, the professors who do flip their classrooms report that they have much more success with their students.
Well, yes,
And
of course, it's more engaging in that 3-hour block that you're spending with the students.
so I would imagine what's
Well,
happening
no.
is that it's easier for students to watch the lecture than it is for them to read the textbooks, which had been done in previous years. So they come in seemingly more prepared, making for very happy professors.
I can't help, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about a potential student who came into my office one day when she had signed up for a course and was mad as anything. She hadn't taken any classes yet, hadn't actually enrolled, but she was mad as anything that I had a textbook assigned to the class that in which she had enrolled. She wanted the course syllabus, fine, here's the course syllabus. She came in mad as a hornet. What do you mean I have to read? Pardon me? I don't understand the question. I took my class from so-and-so for prof, and I didn't have to read anything throughout my whole degree. Like, I suggest you don't tell people that. What are you doing?
Well,
But
I
she
think
was telling me she went to the dean of students and my
Yes.
dean. And
I think
it's a
these
graduate level
days
class. You are expected to know how to read.
I think these days there is more and more emphasis on video and less emphasis on reading. So you find people no longer read novels for pleasure. They no longer read newspapers. They read summaries of information.
And then act knowledgeable about it. A nice little executive summary, a paragraph versus
Right.
20 pages.
So they're very surprised because I get that also in my courses, and it comes out in with criticisms of the course where students say, "I didn't like the textbook. It was either the textbook was boring or it didn't meet my needs." And the textbook that I use is written by a very knowledgeable author, and the reason I selected it is because it doesn't leave anything out in the entire course of study that they would need to know as background information for the
I know
other.
the text you're talking about.
Yes.
Absolutely. She is a brilliant author.
But it's interesting. So what I think is happening is that as more and more students don't want to read, they are more acclimatized to watching video or staring at their at the monitors of their computers, and we'll pick up some information that way.
Well, there's nothing wrong with having a video that is framing that information for you by the instructor. Here's what I need you to glean out of it, and here's how everything fits together. But not having that information pulled from the initial knowledge base, whether it's a textbook or several different journal articles or different online readings that you do that have already been framed for you within the course, I don't understand that. How can you have a decent knowledge base without having a knowledge base?
I know it's problematical. And the other question that comes to mind is:
Problematical.
has anybody done a study to see how long the videos are that these professors are creating? Because
There's a weird and interesting question.
yes, because if a lecture class is 3 hours of lecture, there's a considerable amount of content that goes into those. Into that one single class. Now, is the professor sitting in front of the television camera for 3 hours and creating that lecture? And are the students watching for the entire 3 hours? Or is it becoming something like the MOOCs, where a lecture typically is 15 to 20 minutes and then the students are doing other activities? Now that, I think, is something that needs to be
I used to
explored.
do that in some of my earlier online courses with how when we had face-to-face courses, I'd have a little PowerPoint slideshow presentation up there, and we'd go through an overview of each of the different slides, but we'd have discussion within the class, and after the class I would offer a discussion pretty close to what the lecture was, not including all the discussions that were occurring, and it was about 15-20 minutes, just a quick overview.
So
what
if
the
it
information
now
was.
once you make this video as a professor, if you want to change something, if you have a 20-minute video, that's one thing, but you still have to
You're out
change
of luck.
it. You still have to make an entire new video, and if
absolutely.
it's a 3-hour video, you're into major production values. So that's
and quality of time and effort.
So there
and where's the usage?
there are
of
a
that
number
time and effort?
there are a number of questions that.
But I like the one where you say, but when, as you brought up, But that's a lot of time and effort that you're talking about. And the response that I usually receive from people who have no idea what they're talking about is, but if you cared about the students, if you cared about your teaching, you would do it. It's like, who are you? You are from a totally different planet.
Yeah, that's true. And I think what is interesting to see is
Because yes, of
how
course I care
often
about the students. I need to include that part.
how often these videotapes need to be updated,
revised.
the amount of work that goes in. I think already
Right.
professors are recognizing that's a considerable amount of work to create a video that is, one, content rich, and two, one that the students will watch for
Just
anywhere
trying
to 20
the knowledge base within an
to
online environment so that you can flip the classroom.
to 3 hours. But those are questions for another edition of Technology and Education Today, as we have reached the end of this edition. I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford. Bye!